So today we have a different Audit Tuesday topic. So we're going to talk about vendor selection and vendor management. So for this very important topic, we have resale and vendor expert David Gillies. Hi, David.
Hey, how are you, Ashley? Hi, Garrett.
Today.
Doing well. Thank you for being here. So let's start off. Can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Well, Ashley, I started off in my IT career at WorldCom selling frame relay. That dates me for a lot of people, and many viewers may not even know what that is at this point. It's kind of embarrassing. But my career spanned software, hardware, circuits, systems, ERP, et cetera. So I've had really 20 plus years of the gamut of IT experience across pretty much every silo out there. My main focus these days is kind of technology advising, helping customers and companies pick the right technology for their environment because nobody has the time to really delve into these things like they should. And we'll talk more about that as we go along here.
So I know that you posted in the last couple of weeks on some of the flaws enterprises have in vendor selection. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, there are two or three things I want to talk to you about. Probably the most important one is, you know, if an IT executive makes a bad or a poor technology purchase, a lot of things can happen, right? The company doesn't run as smoothly. Employee satisfaction is huge these days. When you have systems that don't work and disgruntled employees and they go elsewhere, so it's really important to make good technology decisions because it can affect bonuses and careers even depending on how integral the product is to a company. One thing that I've noticed with a lot of customers, and I've done this in my career, is they'll ask for references, which is reasonable. And of course, the sales rep will give them two or three references. They'll call the references. They'll usually coach the references and make sure it's going to be a positive reference before they get you on the phone with the customer. And a lot of times they'll ask to be on the phone during the reference. And so it's just not a transparent way of doing things. What I suggest is asking a sales rep who their main customers are, again, hopefully local to you, two or three or four. And instead of having them, you can have them arrange some references, but do your own references. Go on LinkedIn, find executives in your silo, whatever you're buying, at basically your level, and just reach out to them on LinkedIn and say, listen, I'm thinking about purchasing this product from this vendor. What are your thoughts on it? Every IT executive has made poor purchasing decisions, either an unscrupulous representative or the company just couldn't execute what they said they could execute on. I'm sure other companies have the same exact experience. And most are more than happy to help you and give you some advice as long as you don't expect them to bash the company, right? And you have to use a little bit of IQ and a little bit of EQ here, right? So when you meet them first, you can't go, hey, I've got a list of 10 things. Are they good here? Yes, no, good there. Where have they fallen? Where have they done well, et cetera, et cetera. You kind of got to get into it. Like, where'd you go to school? We went to the same alma mater, and I see that you like duck hunting too. And, you kind of go into the relationship piece first. And then you say, hey, what are your thoughts about this product or this vendor? It would really help me out a lot. Some contacts won't give you any information. They're just too scared of the information getting out. But in the end, I always ask, would you buy it again? And that tells you a lot right there. There are
And
probably two other areas. Go ahead, Ashley.
oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
There are probably two other areas I would give caution to companies when they're buying technology. One, these customer satisfaction scores, NPS, CSAT, et cetera. I've been at companies that had these incredibly high scores. And when they came out with them, I was like, did they interview my customers? And not every company, obviously, but a lot of them. And those numbers could be manipulated and worked to basically come out basically however they want. That's a checkbox, but don't put too much weight on a CSAT score or an NPS score. It's like Yelp scores. They can hire 1,000 people to give positive reviews, and all of a sudden you're a hero. The last thing I would say is that a lot of IT executives will get into a demonstration with reps in the product. And, as a director of IT, you know a lot about IT, but these reps and these sales engineers are selling a specific product they know the most about. And there's no way, not likely, that you're going to know as much as they know. And when you hear something that kind of gives you that record scratch, that sideways look, that record scratch, listen to your intuition and ask a simple question: what does that mean? And a lot of times, if you ask, what does that mean, 2 or 3 times, they kind of give up because they've been trained by marketing for, the 80-20 rule applies to sales just like anything. They know 80% of the objections before they ever walk into an appointment with you. Marketing gives them beautiful ways to articulate around holes in the solution that basically say, we don't do this, without coming out straight away and saying, we don't do this, right? So by asking, what does that mean, 2 or 3 different times as you drill down, a lot of times we'll get stumped because reps, a lot of them are kind of lazy and sales engineers, and they're going to take marketing's quick little ditty, spiel about how to get past the objection, but they don't think step 2 or 3 beyond that. And the coup de grace, so to speak, is when the sales engineer goes, let me get back with you. Let me talk with our product development team, which means I have no idea. We're going to go to marketing. We're going to find a way of articulating this, saying we don't do it without saying we don't do it. And I think those 3 things right there are probably key in my mind that are super easy to do to make sure you don't make a poor technology purchase.
And why do you think companies continually make the same mistakes in vendor management?
I think it's time and embarrassment, right? So nobody has time for 20 interviews or 20 demos. If they did, I don't think there would be any bad decisions if they had unlimited time to really drill down and check references and do POCs and things of that nature. The other thing is embarrassment. A director of IT sitting there talking to a sales guy, and the sales guy says something that kind of zings past, does that little, sideways glance, and you have that record scratch in your mind, and you're just too embarrassed to say, what does that mean? And you've got to get past that, because a lot of these technology purchases are tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, and you've got to get to the bottom of it. You can't let your ego get in the way of asking seemingly silly questions.
And what would you say the consequences of poor vendor selection and management are?
Well, I think if the system doesn't work well, especially if it's like an ERP, people will lose their jobs over that. If the executives don't get accurate reporting and the data wasn't migrated correctly and things of that nature by a vendor that's not very good, at least bonuses or promotions are at stake, and quite frankly, jobs are often lost. The other thing I think I mentioned earlier is that you're going to have intense employee dissatisfaction. If they can't do their job, they're going to be afraid of being fired, number one, and they may leave before they're fired, or they just are miserable, and it affects the productivity across the organization.
What would be your recommendation for an enterprise to improve this process?
Well, I think what I said earlier, I think you need to check references on LinkedIn at executive levels. I think you need to do the check mark with the CSAT NPS scores. And I think you need to ask, what does that mean, a lot more in these conversations. And to tell you the truth, as you drill down asking, what does that mean? You can assure the rep, listen, let's drill down on this. If we need more time, we'll schedule another meeting with you, but this is important. I need to know everything about it.
And Garrett, so as CEO of UATest, how do you address these issues for UATest customers?
I love what David said. I really did. I've never heard that before, David. Hey, go ask the customer, because the sales guy is going to tell you what their big customers, and then just go do your research yourself. LinkedIn has unbelievably changed the game. I think that was brilliant. And yeah, I'm all for that. And the second one, David, is as a vendor, I really liked it. If ask the question, what do you need? Because like you said, I mean, I worked in the big companies as well, Cisco, IBM, Motorola, all that kind of stuff. And I was trained. I was trained certain ways of talk and whatever. And it is our jobs is when we're purchasing So we actually know what we want and have the vendor explain what he has in the terms of what we want. And that probably often will probably get you past the sales guy. And I mean that, right? David, he's going to say, you're right. That's a good question. Let me get the SE, or let me see if the product can do this. Okay. And we're in Ashley, going and going, well, Garrett, that's every sales call. That's how we do it. We actually ask our customers and our prospects, what are you looking for? What are your user requirements? And then we let the product speak for itself. But I get it when you're just in the conversation and someone's buzzwording and zero trusting and real timing and all that, you're just like, okay, what do you mean? What do you need, mate? And I like it because I'm at every show, talking zero trust, IGA, and people are like, well, what do you mean by identity governance? Right? I mean, does everyone in the audience always know what we're saying about identity attestation and all that? And by the way, we are a product that helps you review all the permissions that you have granted. And that's what an access recertification is. It's going through all of your permissions and your entitlements to ensure those should actually be distributed, especially around your sensitive data. So as we can see, I just took a word, identity attestation, and it's not 2 words, it's a paragraph. It's a whole concept. And so I like that, David. Anyways, that's how I would say yes. And keep the questions coming to the vendors and keep them coming to you with us.
Perfect. So David, can you tell the audience how they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, I think the best way to get a hold of me now is on LinkedIn at enterprise-IT-strategist. I'm happy to communicate there and have lively conversations.
Perfect. And then us at UATest, we can be reached at info@uatest.com, and we'll help your enterprise ensure that their identity entitlements are up to date, as well as meeting BCDR best practices. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Fantastic. What a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And thanks, David.
Thank you.